Good morning, or actually good afternoon, I should say. Well, welcome to Trinity Word Ministry. Back in November in Sunday school at Lakeside Church, and I encourage you, if you are in the Charlotte, North Carolina region, and you do not have a home church, I encourage you to visit with us at Lakeside. We have a fantastic pastor, teaches and preaches the Word of God, and you would be more than welcome. But we started way back in November a study on Israel in the Middle East, and I would like to complete that study today. I've been having some trouble connecting to our Wi-Fi there at the church, so it's been hard to broadcast. And because of that, I've decided that I was going to broadcast from here today. A couple of days after Christmas, just go ahead and knock this lesson out. We're going to get started back with Zephaniah back at Lakeside Sunday School starting Sunday, December the 31st. We will get started back with Zephaniah. We'll start with chapter 2, but I thought I'd knock this out. It shouldn't take us long. Okay, we've got the Israel in the Middle East, the part 1. That was Israel and Ishmael, and those individuals. We discussed the dynamics there. So we're going to continue on with the Middle East and look at the dynamics, look at where those were founded from. We know the 12 tribes of Israel are Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Benjamin, and Joseph. And out of Joseph we have the 2 children, Ephraim and Manasseh. Those make up the tribes of Israel. Now, I'm going to try to read the 12 tribes of Ishmael, Nebaioth, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadar, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. Now, out of those 12 tribes, we're going to look at individual countries and see where those individual countries actually came from. We'll start with Iraq. The Garden of Eden was in what we consider to be Iraq now. Using the description of Genesis 2, verses 10 through 14 as our compass. And a river went out from Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is the Pison, that is, which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. Now that's the first time gold's mentioned, so where we can assume, we can infer that gold came from Havilah, and it was good gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is the Gihon, the same as that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. The name of the third is the Hadakel, that is, which goeth forth at the east of Assyria, and the fourth river is Euphrates. So, if we look at the Garden of Eden, what is known as Iraq, then Adam and Eve was formed here. The first sin, the sin of disobedience. Adam, not Eve, directly disobeying God by eating of the tree of knowledge. Satan shows his face to man in Iraq. The first murder, Cain kills his brother Abel. This is all in what we consider to be the country of Iraq. Noah may have built the ark in Iraq. Nimrod, the son of Cush, the grandson of Noah, the mighty hunter, began a lot of false religions in Iraq. Genesis 10 and 10, Nimrod founded Babel, where the Tower of Babel was built in the plains of Shinar. Cush was the son of Ham. Ham and one of his other sons, Canaan, was cursed by Noah because Ham saw his father's nakedness. According to Josephus, Ham's descendants populated Africa and nearby Asia. So to recap, Nimrod, the son of Cush, the son of Ham, who was cursed by his father Noah, settled and developed the land of present-day Iraq. Syria, another country of the Middle East. Abraham's brother Nahor's son was Kemuel, whose son was Aram, populated the area we know as Syria, or the Armenians. The Armenians were, in Old Testament, an enemy of Israel. Laban, Jacob's father-in-law, is called an Armenian in Genesis 31 and verse 10. Jacob himself is called a wandering Armenian in Deuteronomy 26 and 5, since both his mother and grandfather were from Mesopotamia, and therefore considered Armenians by the Hebrews. During the reign of King David, the Armenians of Damascus came to help another group of Syrians. David defeated them, and the Armenians were forced to pay tribute. Later, the Armenians joined forces with the Ammonites in war against Israel, and Israelites defeated Aram again and kept them in subjugation. This arrangement lasted through the reign of King Solomon. After the time of Solomon, the Armenians were a personal and a perennial thorn in Israel's side. They fought Israel during King Ahab's time, and Israel won. In another battle, however, they killed Ahab in 2 Chronicles 18:34. They raided Israel and later laid siege to the capital of Samaria. Elisha predicted the atrocities that the Armenians would commit in 2 Kings 8 and 12. The Armenians fought King Joram of Israel, wounded him in 2 Kings 8 and 28. And they fought King Joash of Judah and wounded him, 2 Chronicles 24, verses 23 through 25. The eventual fall of Jerusalem at the hands of Babylon was aided by the Armenians of 2 Kings 24, verse 2. Who were the Armenians? This is from gotquestions.org. When Abraham had an encounter with God, this brother directed his family to leave their native land and go to the land of Canaan. Terah, their father, coordinated the gathering of his family to journey west to their destination. They followed the Euphrates River with their herds to the Padar Aram region. This was about halfway along the Fertile Crescent between Mesopotamia and Mediterranean, in what is now southeastern Turkey. In this region, Nahor and his family settled, except for his brother Haran, who had died some time ago back, probably in the Ur of Chaldees. The city where they settled is the place where Nahor's father would die. Nahor, too, Jr., continued his own travels and settled in the region, Aram Naharam, where he founded the town Nahor. Here he and Micah had 8 sons: Uz, Buz, Kemal, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethel, father of Rebekah, the wife of Isaac. The Palestinian Authority is a complex, multicultural organization. Most scholars believe that modern Palestine is a compilation of several cultures. The term Arab, as well as the presence of Arabians in the Syrian desert and the Fertile Crescent, is first seen in the Assyrian sources from the 9th century BCE, before Common Era. We call it BC, before Christ. Southern Palestine had a large Edomite. Remember, Edom was from Esau, an Arab population by the 4th century BC. Inscriptional evidence over a millennium from the peripheral areas of Palestine, such as Golan and the Negev, show a prevalence of Arab names over Aramaic names from the Persian period, from 550 to 330 BC onwards. The Bedouins have drifted in waves into Palestine since at least the 7th century, after the Muslim conquest. Some of them, like the Arab al-Shakir, south of Lake Kinneret, trace their origins to Hejaz, or Najd, of the Arabian Peninsula. While some ancestry is said to go back to Haran's Mishal Jessel tribes, they speak distinct dialects of Arabic in the Galilee in the Negev. As with almost everything to do with the conflict, it depends on whom you ask. Some will begin with the Romans, others will start with the late 19th century Jewish migration to what was then the Ottoman Empire, to escape the pogroms and the persecutions in Eastern Europe and the rise of Zionism, or the Balfour Declaration by the British government in 1917 in support of national home for the Jewish people in Palestine and the ensuing conflicts with Arab communities there. But the starting point for many is the United Nations vote in 1947 to partition land at the British mandate of Palestine into 2 states, one Jewish, one Arab, following the destruction of much of European Jewry in the Holocaust. Neither the Palestinians nor the neighboring Arab countries accepted the founding of modern Israel. Fighting between Jewish armed groups, some of which the British regarded as terrorist organizations, and Palestinians, escalated until the armies of Egypt, Iraq, Transjordan, and Syria invaded after Israel declared independence in May of 1948. Let's jump to Lebanon. Yes, we're jumping all over the Middle East. The Bible does mention several conflicts between Israel and its neighboring countries, including Lebanon. For example, in Judges 3, verses 1 through 4, it is mentioned that God left some of the nations in the land of Canaan, including the Sidonians, the Hivites, the Jebusites, to test Israel. From Judges 3, verses 1 through 4, now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel has not known all the wars of Canaan. Only that the generation of the children of Israel might know, to teach them more, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof. Namely, 5 lords of the Philistines, and all of the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites, that dwelt in the Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal-Haram unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. The Israelites were commanded to drive them out of the land, but they failed to do so. In Judges 3, 12 through 30, the Israelites fought against Eglon, the king of Moab, and in Judges 4 and 5 they fought against Jabin, the king of Canaan, and his general Sisera. In 1 Kings 5 and 6, King Solomon made a treaty with Hiram, the king of Tyre, which allowed him to obtain cedar and cypress wood from Lebanon for the construction of the temple in Jerusalem. Later in 1 Kings 11, 1 through 13, God became angry with Solomon because he had married many foreign women, including women from Moab, Ammon, Edom, Sidon, Heth, and had turned away from God. As a result, God raised up adversaries against Solomon, including Hadad the Edomite, Rezon the son of Eliadad, and Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Jordan, another country. It's often considered the other biblical land. Other than Israel, Jordan has the most biblical sites. Mount Nebo, where Moses looked over into the Promised Land but was not allowed to enter, is in Jordan. John the Baptist baptized Jesus in the Jordan River at Bethany, is in the land of Jordan. The ancient cities of Edom, Ammon, and Moab were all in Jordan. The cave that Lot and his 2 daughters went to escape to, as God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, is in Jordan. In the cave, known as Lot's Cave, he and his daughters gave birth to Moab's country and the Ammonite country. Lot's descendants were the founders of Jordan. The son of Lot, Moab, was the start of the Moabites, and the son Ben-Ammi was the start of the Ammonites. The nephew of Abraham, Lot, son started the Ammonites that started Jordan. So the Ammonites and the Israelites were cousins, and still are, but also enemies. In the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt, the Ammonites would not allow the Jewish people to cross over into their land. This certainly set the stage for battles later, but also the Ammonites sided with Moab over Israel in battles. If you'll watch the Indiana Jones movie, The Last Crusade, at the end of the right-of-way and in the background is Petra, if not the most famous landmark of Jordan, certainly one of the most famous. As you know, there were 2.5 tribes of Israel that wanted to stay on the east side of Jordan, Reuben and Gad, and half of the tribe of Manasseh, Joseph's son, asked Moses if they could settle on the east of the river. He agreed only if they helped secure the promised land for the others. They agreed, and when time came, they fought with the rest of the Israelites, and when all was done, they crossed back over the river to the land. We call this area the Transjordan. In Kings chapter 14, Chronicles chapter 12, we read of the only wife of Solomon named in the Hebrew Bible, Naamah, that had a son. His name was Rehoboam. Rehoboam succeeded Solomon on the throne. Solomon's wife, Naamah, was an Ammonite, or from the land of Jordan. Rehoboam is the king who oversaw the Israel nation splitting in two, Israel and Judah. During the time of Nehemiah, the people of Israel had married into the Ammonite and the Moabite families without them being converted to Jewish faith. This meant their offsprings were not full-blooded Jewish, and because of that, legitimacy was questioned. Even King David's legitimacy was questioned, since he descended from Ruth, who was a Moabite. Egypt, Ham's son, Mizraim, found Egypt. In Genesis chapter 10, verse 6, lists the offsprings, the sons of Ham. The original name for Egypt in the Hebrew Bible is Mizraim, and the name Egypt comes from a Greek word, Aegyptus. Several times in the Scriptures, Psalms 105, 23, 27, Psalms 106, 22, describes Egypt as the land of Ham. Egypt figures prominently in the Scriptures. The children of Israel moved to Egypt during Joseph's time because of a severe famine. After that, Pharaoh and Joseph dies. The next Pharaoh begins to put restrictions on Israel, fearing that the Israelites would join in with Egypt's enemies in an army and help overthrow the Egyptians. Israel becomes slaves to Egypt and remains this way for some time. Israel was in Egypt over 400 years. Moses leads them out of Egypt after God sends 10 plagues to the Egyptian nation and citizen. God warns Israel not to trust Egypt, or their horses or their chariots, but Solomon does not listen. He marries an Egyptian princess and buys a lot of horses and chariots from them. However, it is Egypt that Joseph takes Mary and baby Jesus to when their lives are threatened by Herod after Jesus was born. In 1948, when Israel was declared a country, in May, a few months later, Egypt with other nations attacked Israel. Each time Israel fought them back. In 67, the Six-Day War, Egypt again attacked and was beaten, and also then again in 73. In 1979, with President Carter hosting Egypt and Israel, they signed the Camp David peace accords, which effectively ended the 30-year conflict. And the president of Egypt, Anwar Sadat, was later killed for signing that peace accord with Egypt, or with Israel, excuse me. Let's go to Cyprus. Japheth, one of Noah's sons, had a son named Javan. Javan's descendants, according to Genesis 10, 1 through 4, populated Cyprus. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. Sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Teres. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Rehoboth, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Doedim. In ancient times, Cyprus, or at least a part of it, was called Alicia. So most Bible scholars believe that Elisha's descendants populated Cyprus. Japheth and Shem were the sons that walked backward to cover their father, Noah. The relationship between Cyprus and one of its esteemed neighbors, Israel, goes far back. Over the years, the two economies have built a strong foundation of understanding that has benefited both nations on a political, social, and economic level. The very first interaction between the nation of Cyprus and Israel dates long before they were independent states, as far back as the 16th century, when Jewish merchants escaped to the island of Cyprus following the Spanish Inquisition. The people of Cyprus had opened their hearts and offered shelter to the people of Israel during their stopover on the island, and this has created a mutual bond of respect and friendship between the two countries' people. Cyprus was also a stopover for the Holocaust survivors as well after World War II. Turkey used to be called the Ottoman Empire, but we know it as Turkey now. Japheth's son Meshech populated the area we call Turkey. This area is very popular in biblical days. The Church of Antioch is in modern-day Turkey. In the Old Testament, the city of Haran, where Abraham and his family lived for a time after leaving Ur, was located in the area now known as Turkey, as was Mount Ararat, the place where Noah's Ark landed. The Hittite civilization, mentioned often in the Old Testament, was a dominant force in this land around 2000 BC. Today's Kurds, most of whom live in Turkey, are believed to be descendants of the once powerful Assyrians, the people who conquered the northern kingdom of Israel. The Hittites, Persians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Ottomans, along with the lesser-known cultures, invaded, conquered, flourished, and left the ruins of their once mighty empires for us to behold with a curiosity and awe. During the Ottoman Empire, there was favor towards Jewish individuals, and even in 1948, Turkey recognized Israel as a sovereign nation. However, now there is a strain as Israel goes after Hamas Turkey has warned Israel not to strike Hamas on their soil, or they will strike back. And this, even though we don't consider this part of the Mideast, it plays prominently in the Middle East. Russia, the son of Japheth, Teres, his descendants populated where we now know as Russia. According to Josephus in the Jerusalem Talmud, the descendants of Teres are said to have originally settled in the country of Thrace, or the Thracians. In the Babylonian Talmud, one rabbi holds that some of his descendants settled in Persia, a view held also by others. According to Josephus, Teres was the ancestor of Russian people, perhaps the Kievan Russian, as well as those people who first settled Bosnia, and in England, perhaps referring to the ancient Britons, the Picts, and the Scots, a Celtic race. This opinion seems to be followed by several who wrote that Teres was the ancestor of the Russian people and of the native peoples of England. As for the early Britons and Picts, according to the Saxon Chronicles, they were joined by the Angles and the Jutes, or Denmark, from the old Saxons. Jutes had established colonies in Kent and White, while the Angles had established colonies in Mercia and all in Northumberland, Germany, in about 449 CE, Common Era, we would say AD. So yes, this was very quick, it was very dirty, it was very high level, but you get kind of a feel for the Middle East now. The players, the major players. We believe we can bring peace. We believe we can bring unity to this. Well, I got news for you, we never will. It will take Christ coming back for peace to be in the Middle East. This war has been going on for thousands of years, generation upon generation. It started as a family feud, and that's where it's staying. And all of these people that are sitting around saying, oh yeah, this president can bring peace, or that president can bring peace. No, they can't. So I encourage you to join us again on this same station, if you will, Trinity Word Ministry, trinitywordministry.com, or on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Listen to us, studying the Bible as we go further into the future. And we appreciate all those that's listened around the world, and we encourage you to share this message. It's not about who is delivering it. Me, I'm just no dumb country boy. But it's all about God and all about God's Word. So I encourage you to share this message. Listen, tune in to the podcast and listen to us. If you got any comments, please let me know. Thanks, and God bless.